Allie.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Of course, I'm so excited to be here.
So we met because you watch our dog Tofu.
Yes.
And Tofu loves you.
Oh, I love Tofu. So does Minnie.
Hi, Minnie.
That's
nice
Minnie's
to
boyfriend.
see you.
Yes.
Oh, I forgot to say, guys, welcome to the LA Sober Sessions podcast. You can check us out on all socials at We Are LA Sober, as well as on YouTube. Support the brand. Check out the merch. Follow us. Like us. The website is lasober.com. We are the new sober. Not everyone agrees with it, but it works for me. So if it works for you, we love everyone. If you're not sober, if you get it. Back to Allie. So Allie, we met because you watched Tofu.
Yes.
And Tofu loves you.
We love Tofu.
And I think Tofu loves you the most is because when he goes to you, it's a dog orgy.
Yes. I always joke like all dogs are bisexual because it's like all the time boys on boys, and it's so fun. I mean, you see Tofu, he gets there and he just goes nuts.
Yes.
It's like, and they're all fixed. I'm like, I don't know what it is, but dogs just like do this thing, and it's so funny. So funny.
And it's so funny whenever we are on a trip, I'm always asking you, can I get some action shots? And my wife's like, you're a fucking sicko.
I know, she hates it. She's like, don't send those.
Yeah,
I'm like,
not my,
show Bill.
Not my boy, not my boy. And then he comes home and he's like humping the couch for a little bit. I'm like, dude, that has to hurt. He's like, it's all
crazy.
good.
It's crazy. I don't know what it is. And it's always like the boys on the boys, always. So, yeah. And my clients, like some of my clients are like, is my dog gay? I'm like, no, they're just all bisexual. It's just what they do, you know?
They just live it.
They just love it.
They
yeah.
just live it.
Yeah, it's their party time.
Party time.
Party time.
Let's get into this. When you were over our house a couple times and we started talking, and then you saw LA Sober and you go, are you sober? And I go, well, not exactly, but I'm sober in a way that works for me today.
Yeah.
I have myself struggled with alcohol from a very early age. And I wasn't one that probably had to drink every single day. I mean, there was actually 10 years I probably did. But it was like just those, I just don't have anything in me that says, governor, like stop. And I just go through the fun zone. Yeah. And so for me, it's like, I'm done with it. So let's talk about you.
Yeah.
So you're from Carmel,
California.
Okay.
Born and raised. Yes.
How was that? Small town?
So, it's so funny because, like, when I tell people here that I'm from there, everyone is like, oh, my God, like, why would you ever move to L.A.? Like, Carmel is the most beautiful place in the world.
Very.
And it is, but, being young, I would say under, like, 50 years old even, or, like, in your 20s, especially, teenager years, there's not a lot to do there. So, it's like in high school, we would get ourselves in all kinds of trouble because it's like, you live in this community where it's very wealthy, a lot of elderly, and it's like, town of 40,000 and, there's not a lot to do. So you find other things to do. And, I think that Monterey, Carmel has a big, drug alcohol epidemic that's not really talked about. My friends here, I tell them, how many people I know that have died, in their early 20s. And they're like, because I just turned 30 and, I've probably lost easily 10 or more people.
Jesus.
Yeah. And they're like.
What? Of like overdoses?
Most of it is drugs. So car accidents, a lot of it drug and alcohol related. In high school, I knew a girl drunk driving. She's paralyzed now. There's a lot of overdoses. Moving here and being in the sober community, I mean, I couldn't tell you how many people since I've moved here that I've known that have died from mostly fentanyl overdoses. But yeah, it's crazy because it's like, it's not normal to be so young and know so many people that have passed away.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's that I grew up in Palm Springs.
Yes.
And it's kind of the same thing. I mean, it's not... Yeah. It's different, but especially when I was there, it was a small town, and now it's grown a lot. But there's so much downtime, because during the summer it's so hot there that like there's nothing else to do.
Totally.
So we would get high, we would do drugs, we would drink,
Yep.
and then it just becomes kind of like just and back then it was like, oh, this is fun.
Right.
But then as you get older, it interferes with life, and you go, well, this isn't really fun anymore. This is kind of like
it gets to a point where it's
destructive.
It's not fun anymore. Yeah, for me it was like, I had a fake ID when I was 16. I did Vegas, I did New York, and like I had so much fun, being that age and doing the whole like 21 and the drinking scene. And I think because I started so young is why I ended so young. Like, I got sober at 23, and like I didn't get sober because I was like
23.
23.
Because you're going to celebrate 7 years.
I have 7 years, January 3rd. 2018 is my sobriety
Congratulations,
date. Thank
Mama.
you. Yeah, and it's like, people are like, how did you, like my friend, I was in Monterey like last month, and she's like, it kind of sucks, like you can't have a glass of wine at dinner, these things we hear. And she's like, you stopped so young. And I'm like, I did stop so young, but like most people, don't go to Vegas and party when they're 15 years old with a fake ID. You know what I mean? I was into the rave scene in the Bay Area when I'm like 16 doing ecstasy. And
Same.
You're going to learn a lot about me in this podcast.
No, it's great. But don't you also think that while you stop young, at the same time, and maybe not, but with me, like this wasn't like a decision I made overnight. Like this was in my head for probably 10 years before of me working through it, going, Bill, this isn't really working. Those mornings you wake up and it's like the pain it was causing myself, not just the people around me, that while you made that decision, it was like you made it through the years.
I think for me, it was, like you said, it was fun until it wasn't. Mm-hmm. It was a choice until it wasn't. For me, kind of my downfall was, so when I was 21, I was working in Pebble Beach, which, golf. I worked at a golf course. I did the beverage cart.
Oh, God.
I was at a restaurant called Poppy Hills. Lots of fun. We would drink at work, and it was a great time. And then, when I turned 21, I had been out all day kind of drinking. It was like a late, birthday celebration. And I had blacked out middle of the day, like I always did. I was a blackout drinker. So
same.
Like you said, I wasn't someone that drank every day, until kind of the end. I was never 100% physically reliant on alcohol to where, like, if I would stop, I would, have seizures or, I never needed to do, like, a medical detox. But I would go on these binges, right? So, like, I would have 3 days where I'm just wasted, doing coke, whatever it is. And then, I would, say I would black out and then I would drink again. I wouldn't black out again for another 2 weeks. But it was very early on, high school. Like after the first couple times I drank alcohol, I was blacking out. And it wasn't like, it wasn't like a brownout where I could remember some things. There were nights like that. But, there were a lot of nights where I didn't remember a thing. I would piss the bed because I was so drunk, like these embarrassing, horrible things. And, so it was from a very early age that I was like that. And then, I would meet people and they're like, I've never blacked out. I've drank for 10 years. I've never blacked out. I'm like, oh my God, is this not normal? You know what I mean? Because I thought it was normal. But for me, it was the downfall. So I got a DUI. I crashed my car when I was 21. Totaled it. So that day I was, drinking.
How drunk were you? What did you blow?
So it's so funny because we had been out drinking during the day, and the other thing about me and my drinking, I would never throw up. I mean, I was in the hospital with alcohol poisoning, and the doctor is like, I cannot believe that you're still alive, 2, that you have not thrown up. And they say a lot of times with alcoholics, we don't drink like normal people. So it's like, me not throwing up, that was such a sign of like alcoholism. And I never knew that because I never threw up the whole time I drank. There would be times where I would take a shot and the taste, I would just like, ugh, that was so gross. But I was never someone that would get so drunk that later I would get sick and throw up. I would just pass out. It would never. Pass out. Yeah. So anyways, when I got my DUI, my friends that day had put me to bed, hid my keys because of course, like I wanted to drive, and they hid my keys and they're like, okay, like you're staying here, you're going to bed. They left me at my house. I found the keys maybe 3 to 4 hours later. So I woke up and I'm like, you know what? I slept.
3 to 4 hours later.
Probably, yeah, because So I would say that I went to bed that day maybe around 2, and I ended up driving like around 6 maybe, so probably 4 hours later. And I'm like, you know what, I'm good. You know, I'm sober. I napped, whatever. So stop at the gas station to get cigarettes because I was a smoker back then. Not anymore, thank God.
What did you smoke?
You know, I loved my my
Marlboro
Camel
Lights?
Crush. No, I liked my Well, yes, the Marlboro Lights occasionally, but I love my Camel Crushes.
Are those the ones that you can change?
They're the menthols, and there's like yeah.
Oh, the worst.
So the thing about me was, I mean, when I was drinking, I could smoke a pack easily.
Oh, for sure.
But I would sober up and I would, like, you know, smell my hair and my hands, and I'm like, ugh. Like, I never could smoke sober, not even like half a cigarette. But you get a couple drinks in me, it's like chiefing.
Yeah.
You know, I was one of those. Same with cocaine, same thing. But anyways, so I'm driving, get my cigarettes. I'm going to a friend's. I'm almost there. And the thing that I remember that's so funny now is like, so when I was drinking, I would, and everyone that knew me back then knows this about me, is I would go through an iPhone like once a month. Like it would get
because
lost.
you lose it or break it.
Lose it, leave it at the bar. I would break it. I mean, I was a hot mess. So at that time I didn't have a phone. So I'm like on this iPad that had like the AT&T like 3G Wi-Fi or whatever. It's like probably 2017. And I was changing the song. So I was changing it to Love Yourself by Justin Bieber. I still, every time I hear that song, I'm like, oh my God, it's like PTSD. Anyway, so I'm changing the song, lose control of the car, boom, go right into a telephone pole. And it was my first car. My grandpa had bought it for me. It was like a little Volkswagen Jetta, bright red. You know me, I love my red cars. So anyways, so boom, smash. It took me a second to kind of realize like, oh shit, I just totaled my car. I mean, the airbags are deployed, glass is shattered. So what happened was I managed to crawl out of like the passenger side door, managed to get it open, crawl out. All the houses in the neighborhood I was in, because I didn't have service on my little iPad, so all the houses that in the neighborhood I was in, they're all gated. So, you know, I walk over, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna call their little, you know, number pad, and I'm gonna use their phone, call my friends, you know, whatever, get a ride. So I called, you know, someone that lived there, and I said, hey, I just got in an accident, can I use your phone? And they were like, we're calling the police. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, not even in my mind like you're gonna get arrested, like you're, you know. So anyways, first the ambulance shows up, and you know, they're really nice, being really great to me. They let me use their phone. So I call my friend Cassidy. I'm like, hey, I just crashed my car. Yeah, she was with me earlier in the day, so she was like, this is bad. So she comes, and then right around the time she comes, the cops come, and they're doing, you know, all the sobriety tests that I think I'm like passing with flying colors, and failing miserably.
And you were 21 at this point.
20. I had just turned 21. So my birthday's November 7th. It was right around Christmas time. The bad shit always happens right around Christmas time. So it was like right before Christmas. I blew a .23. Three times.
And that was 4 hours after.
4 hours after
you stopped drinking, you passed out, you woke up, you thought you were going to drive, you thought you were good, and you were still that out of your mind.
Wasted. I mean, it didn't even occur to me when they're doing these tests, like, oh, you're still drunk, you're going to go to jail. And so when I blew that, they told me, and I was still wasted, honestly, at that point. I just didn't realize it. So, my friends see me get cuffed. That's when the tears just start, like, I'm going to jail. So I spent the night in jail, got my DUI. And so I think that was the first of, like, a series of consequences for me. You know, I started calling out of my job that I loved. And so, you know, my manager gave me so many chances. And then eventually he was like, and that was like a year after my DUI. He was like, you know, we have to let you go. We love you, but we have to let you go. You can't keep doing this. And so, you know, it was just like a series of things, but it's not like, you know, the DUI didn't make me get sober.
Yeah.
I couldn't even get my license back. It took me, you know, until I got sober to end up getting my license back because I couldn't do anything. I couldn't do my, you know, DUI classes, community service, all that stuff. So, you know, I think for me with getting sober, it was just like, it got so bad that, you know, I knew I was unemployable. I couldn't keep a job. I had several after that I just, you know, would stop showing up to because I wanted to drink. But for me, it was like, you know, I would go out, I would party, loved being around people. You know, I didn't like to drink alone, but like if it worked, you know, I'd be out drinking and I would wake up and I'm like, oh, I'm sober. I'm not drunk anymore. So it was just like, I hated being sober. So I didn't care if it was 10 a.m., you know, and there's a beer in the fridge, like I'm drinking it just because I didn't want to be sober.
Because you didn't want to deal with the pain of looking in the mirror and going, Jesus, like this cycle has to stop. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I got a DUI in, how old was I? I was 25. I just moved to LA. So this is back in 97. And it was New Year's Eve.
Oh, no.
I went to a party I was living down in Redondo Beach at the time. Okay. I went to a party up in Hollywood Hills. Some girl I met from college, like I was partying with, and we were partying.
Yeah.
Like we were on it. Like we were in it to win it. Partied all night. The next day, went to Pier Avenue or Pier Street in Hermosa Beach, and drank all day. And finally, like at 9, I'm just like, I'm done. Like I can't part. I'm just like I need sleep. And I'm driving her car home back to my place, and it's a green 4Runner. I didn't have the lights on. I didn't have lights on. I blew a .09.
Wow.
So I was like, I was pretty
Yeah.
much sober.
Yeah.
And it was such a nightmare to go through that with like the classes, and now it's a lot harder. But even then, it was just so much, and I got through. But at the time, I didn't have tags on my truck because of tickets I got back in college. I parked inside the Dean parking spot every day because I didn't want to go to school early. So I had all these tickets.
I love that.
Plus, I wasn't paying my note on my car because I was a derelict.
Yeah.
So I was hiding my car from being repoed. Like it was such a disaster.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was not fun.
That's the alcoholic mindset, though.
You
look back at things you did and you know how irresponsible. Oh, I'll put that off, but that's just your thinking. You know, you're so irresponsible, and your thinking is partying and getting drunk, and it's not like, oh, you know, I need to do this so my car doesn't get repossessed. And it's insane thinking now, but it's like that is alcoholism. It's like this insanity.
It's because you think that you can beat the system and you can't. I will say this, that the first time I made real money was in 3 years later. And the first thing I did was I went to the lien holder on my truck. And this truck probably wasn't worth at that point $3,000.
Yeah.
Like it was a beater.
Yeah.
Like we would laugh, like because we would be going to like the Sky Bar, like, and I'm like keep it up front, like it was a joke.
Valet this, Be careful with her.
Be careful of that thing. But I said, I will write you a check, and it was like $8,000 or something. I'm like, I will write you a check for the full amount, but you got to take it off like I never had it. Yeah. And they did.
Wow.
So I wrote the check.
Amazing.
Yeah. I'm like, there you go.
Yeah.
Speaking of blacking out, I have a family member. I'm not going to mention their name.
Yeah.
But I've talked about like my drinking, and this person has said to me, well, don't worry about blacking out. You're a Raymond. That's what we do. And I'm like, what? Like, no, that's not right. Like, just because it's in our DNA, that means we need to break the cycle.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, I got sober from drinking, is because I didn't want Kate to see that it's normal, because she would, like, when I was younger, like, she would count my drinks, and I know it bothered her. And Kate's me to a T. Yeah. Like, everything about me is her, the good, the bad, the ugly. And I wanted to show her that, no, this isn't acceptable, and I'm not going to put up with it with you. So if I'm not going to put up with you, then I have to be a good example to her.
Totally. And I think, because my mom's a drinker, and, she's a weird drinker though, and that like she's not someone that kept, hard alcohol in the home. She wasn't like that type of drinker, but she was like, okay, we're gonna go to dinner and I'm gonna have 3 Cosmos. She was, and it was like every night after work. And so kids pick up on these things. I would always think like, oh, okay, my mom's like, she drinks a lot. She drinks a lot of alcohol. And like, I knew when I started drinking, like, because my mom's I think with, an alcoholic, like, you can say I'm an alcoholic, but like, no one can ever name, like, they have to do that themselves. I have to be like, okay, I'm an alcoholic and accept it. Like, you can't really say, oh, they're an alcoholic. You can think it, but it has to be for them to decide. You know what I mean? And I think my mom was like kind of on the border of that. But yeah, I just, I would see her drinking, and when I started drinking, I was like, okay, like, you can't like this too much, because I knew I loved, like, immediately the first time I got drunk, it was like, oh my god, this is like, yeah, it was like, this is the feeling that I've been waiting for my entire life. And I think I knew that I liked it too much.
Was there, when you were younger, was there things in your life that you dealt with that made you want to have that feeling?
So when just to give you a little background. So my mom and dad got divorced when I was 2. My dad got remarried and had a boy and a girl, my sister who's 3 years younger than me, and my brother who's 6 years younger than me. So when I was like 6, I would say, I was about 6 when my dad passed away. My sister was 3, and my stepmom like had just had my little brother. So my dad had an aortic aneurysm and was like in the hospital for like a year, like just super, super sick. And, I have like this terrible like hospital phobia now, and like doctors and stuff like that. And I think it was because, he died young, and seeing that. And I think, having the trauma of, I was very lucky, like my mom's parents, who are still with us today, thank God, they're so amazing, and they were like, a second set of parents for me. But I think, losing a dad young and, never having like a father figure, like my mom never remarried, and I think, dealing with that was traumatizing. And me and my mom had a very volatile relationship growing up, as I think a lot of moms and daughters do,
for sure.
And I think that there was a lot of trauma. I think we all have trauma, and I think when I moved to LA and I was in treatment and I got to like do therapy for the first time, I think I realized like little Allie was so and I'm not perfect now, but I think I had so much sadness, self-esteem issues, confidence. And I think just drinking, I would just, I don't feel pretty enough. I don't feel this. I don't feel smart enough. I would just drink. But it's like, it stopped working, and it only works for so long. And like you said, it's like drinking is a numbing agent. But you can drink and you're going to wake up tomorrow sober and your problems are going to be 10 million times worse.
Oh, it's
10 million times worse.
So your dad died at what age?
So my dad was probably around, let's see, so my mom had me when she had me older, so she was like 40 when she had me. I was 6, so my dad was probably almost 50 when he passed away.
And he died of a blood clot.
Aortic aneurysm of the heart. But it wasn't like, he had that and he passed away. It was like he was sick for like a year.
Oh, that's even worse.
Which was worse. Yeah. And I saw him, and I remember this so clearly, seeing him going from like a healthy, he's a bigger, healthy guy, and then just seeing him in the hospital, like skin and bones,
So, as a kid, I was a preemie baby. And so I was like very slow, and they didn't think I was going to make it, and they wanted to put me, you know, in special ed, like all that stuff. And I had a really bad speech impediment. Yeah. And that fucked me so much. Like it just made me always be like on the defense, because kids back then, like they would make fun of me. Yeah. Like my nickname was Billy. Like, and that's tough when you're a kid. Yeah. And then my dad actually died of the same thing.
No way.
When he was 56.
Wow.
And my dad died seeing my mom at the hospital. My mom was in and out of the hospital for many, many years. Yeah. My dad died. He was we weren't poor, but my dad was very conservative with cash. And sometime when he would go see my mom, he didn't want to get a hotel room. So he would sleep in the car. And then my dad was diabetic and he didn't feel the pain in his leg. So a blood clot went up his leg. My dad was walking in the parking lot to see my mom and died in the parking lot at the hospital, and he was 56 years old. I remember the day. It was like December 18th, something like that. I remember I just moved in my first new office.
Yeah.
And I had this corner office, and it was a beautiful sunny day, and I got the call. And it just gives you
You never forget the call.
Never.
I remember even being like, 6 years old, and my mom we were home.
That's so young.
Yeah. And I remember like my mom got the call from my stepmom, I'm assuming, and she told me like your dad died, like and it's like, you never, and it's like, being older too, like before I came to treatment, one of my really good friends passed away in a car accident, and I'll never forget, my friend Anaya calling me and being like, Johnny died, and I'm like, what? Or my friend a couple years earlier, Andrew died, and I'm like, what? It's like these calls, I think, we never forget. And as I get older, I don't hear from my old friends as much, so whenever they call me, it's still like this like nervous feeling. Oh my God.
For sure.
Yeah. But you never forget those calls.
And then when did you move down here?
So I moved here 2018.
2018.
Yeah, so I just January 3rd, so right after New Year's. New Year's was like my last hurrah. In 2018.
2017.
Or 2017, yeah, that last.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so January.
Going into 18.
Going into 18, yeah. So that was like, 31st, 2017, and then January 3rd, 2018 is my sobriety date.
So you were still living up north. And then that next day, did you know going into it, like, this is my last big, like, I'm going out with a bang, and I'm gonna let it all out.
So, what's funny is I didn't. That was one New Year's that I really didn't, like, do a lot. I did drink. I did have some, like, mimosas, but I didn't. And I think it was because I wasn't even, like, enjoying it anymore. I mean, I still, the whole drive down here was, like, pounding wine in a Gatorade bottle that my mom didn't even know about. I was, like, in the, the Anderson split pea soup. Like,
yeah, exactly what that place is.
That was the last time I drank, was, like, pounding wine that my mom didn't even know I brought with me, because I was so scared. I mean, I didn't think that I would be able to get sober. And like, I was at a point though, I knew I was an alcoholic, and I think that's why I've stayed sober, is I have such a knowledge of my alcoholism.
For sure.
And I think a lot of people, especially young people, are in a lot of denial about it, and it's so hard to like for them to accept it. Me, I knew, and I was like, okay, if I keep going like this, because I I have stitches in my head from bottomless mimosas. I mean, I put myself in the worst situations, crashing my car, which at the time I didn't know when I crashed my car when I got my DUI. In my mind, like my sick alcoholic mind, I'm like, okay, maybe my car it'll be fine, I can get it fixed. When I went, you should have seen that car. I mean, it was like
mangled.
Yeah, I mean, I went with my friend and she was like horrified, like tears, like you could have died, And so it's just I think so I drove down here, and I just knew, like, at that point it was going to be death, or it was going to be like homelessness. And I knew I would not make it on the streets. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to throw away. I'm going to waste my entire life if I keep drinking. I can, hopefully stay sober and live this amazing life, or I can keep drinking. And I was
I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm very proud of you.
I'm glad I made the decision.
No, you are
sure.
like you're such a bubbly, fun person.
Thank you.
I love whenever I see you.
Me too. I feel the same about you.
Because you're just real.
Yeah.
You're just real. Yeah.
I appreciate it. I always tell Travis, I'm like, Tofu's dad is so funny. I go, Bill cracks me up. So when I saw your license plate, it said sober. I was like, oh my God, like, is he sober? And you told me about the whole thing you were doing. I was like, oh, this is so rad, because I love it,
And so when you came down here, did you go to rehab?
Yeah, so there was a place, sadly it's not there anymore, but my mom had been kind of like behind my back, like coming down here to like look at places. So she went somewhere in like Orange County area, and she didn't really think it was the right fit for me. And then she found this place in Woodland Hills. It was called Sober College. So basically it was like a long-term program, so you can either do minimum 3 months, maximum 6 months. I did 6 months, and it was for ages 18 to 26, and you got to go to school. So it was kind of like, I joke now, it was kind of like a sober summer camp. Like, it honestly, we went skydiving. I mean, it was an amazing place. You know, sadly, of all the people I went through with, I think there's like one other person that's still sober.
And how many were there?
So I would say, so it was guys and girls, but we lived separately, which I think is very good for early sobriety, because a lot of places aren't.
It's like an orgy.
Yeah, it's like literally, it's like coming over to dog sitting by Allie.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Because you take away one thing, and then you just put all those feelings and those impulses and those endorphins into that. It's like it's like porn.
Totally, it's like and I mean, you have, you know, going into I think, you know, with addiction, there's so many other factors that a lot of people have, mental illness and, you know, the codependency and all these things. So I think it's really important to do separately, and then I think it's also important to do long term, because, you know, so many of these places are like 30 days, and I'm like, if I had gone there for 30 days, there's no way I would still be sober. Like, I needed to be locked up, and I mean, it was still, you know, we had freedom, but we were breathalyzed, we were drug tested randomly, you know. So I think that was really important. But I think even more so than that was, you know, included in being there, we had, you know, process group every morning. We had, you know, therapy every week, and, you know, equine therapy, and like all these amazing things. You know, now granted, you know, I was very lucky that financially my grandparents, you know, helped me get in there.
It's not cheap.
It's not cheap. No. And, you know, I see and I know so many people that work in treatment, and it's just like, it's such a money-making industry.
Oh, it for sure is.
And, you know, it's sad, because, you know, it's like there are people that want help, but if you don't have this, you know, amazing insurance, or you don't have the money to pay for it, it's like you're kind of screwed. You know what I mean? And I remember we would go to these meetings at Tarzana Treatment Center in Woodland Hill, Tarzana or whatever, and it was so funny because, you know, that's like a state-funded, government-funded, like hardcore. I mean, you're like in bunk beds with like 10 other people in a room. These people a lot of them were homeless, you know, HIV positive, coming from prison. And I remember going to these meetings, and like, there's great recovery there. I know so many people that went to these, you know, cushy places in Malibu and didn't get them sober. They went to Tarzana, they got their act straight, and they've been able to stay sober. But I knew, like, this is my one shot, you know, this is my one time to
got one shot,
one opportunity. Yes. Eminem sober.
Love that song. He is sober.
He's like my all-time favorite. But yeah, I was like, you know, if I don't get it right this time, this is where I'm gonna go, you know. And so I was so lucky to be able to go there, and I definitely think that it was crucial for me to be somewhere like that long term and just work on myself, you know, not go somewhere 30 days and be thrown out into the real world, because it's hard. You know, the first 90 days of getting sober are really, really fucking hard. Like, it's just, you know, you bottle down these feelings for so long. And I remember I would just like randomly cry, and I'm not a crier. I cry like once a year maybe. And I was just like, why the fuck am I crying, you know? But it's like, you bottle this down so long, and then you get sober and you feel it all, you know?
Well, and I think because you're so used to your previous lifestyle, and it's boredom. I mean, like for me, it was like, I'd come home from work, I'd have a glass of wine to calm down. Yeah. And now, while it's probably not healthy either, is now I just work more. Yeah, me too. I'm just like, I just take one thing and I just move it over.
Oh, I'm a total workaholic. I mean, I have the best job in the world, but I mean, I work 7 days a week. Like, you know, and I think that's the kind of, you know, in a way, the beauty of addicts is like, when we put our mind to something, whether it's the gym, whether it's a job, like, look at, you know, all these
whatever
things you're doing today.
It's so true. Like, like, even when I would be, you know, stay up all night long, party on whatever I'm on,
Yeah.
drinking,
Yeah.
I would still get through the next day, and it was hard. And my wife goes to me, she's like, how do you do that? Because, like, Nicole's not a drinker. Like, she's so not me.
I didn't think so, yeah.
And she would, but if she does, like, have a big night, which she doesn't,
Yeah.
but there has been.
Yeah.
Not like my big nights
Yeah.
by any means, but she can't move. And
Yeah.
I'm like, get your ass out of bed.
Let's
Like,
go.
come on.
Yeah. And I was like that for so long too. Like, when I was always, I always worked in the service industry. So I was a server, which is, very like physically demanding. You have to remember all these orders, and I could go out all night, an hour of sleep, and I would show up to work the next morning, and I'm like, I never wrote anything down. I memorized everything. I forgot like maybe 2 appetizers my whole like serving career.
Yeah.
So I was really good at that. And then, towards the end, I would never call in, but it was like, for me, it was like towards the end, it was like, I didn't care anymore. And I would, and it was so disappointing, because like my work ethic was always so strong until it wasn't,
Yeah.
And I know, like, now with this, having my own business, it's like the hardest thing I've ever done. It's
The hardest,
nonstop.
but the best.
The best. I always tell people that, and everyone that has their own business, I feel like, says that. It's like, you have your own things going on. It's like, it is the hardest thing you will ever do, and I think that's why a lot of people try and they stop and fail, whatever. But I'm like, if you put your mind to something though, and like, working for yourself is the best fucking thing.
Well, and there was times like where I was doing so good with work, but then I would be at like an event with work and just kind of make an ass of myself.
Yeah.
And then people like judge you on that moment.
Totally.
But there's so much more, but that's what they judge you on.
Yeah.
And the pain it would cause me, because it was self-inflicted. It wasn't like someone did it to me.
Yeah.
I did it myself. And those are the things I'm like, I cannot keep this in check. So bye-bye.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I would, when I drank, I would turn into a different person. And
The
like,
same.
Yeah. And it was horrible, because, I would look at these people, like you said, and they would just give me this look, and it's like, oh, I know I made an ass of myself last night. And like, I feel like I would ask my friends, like, was it that bad? And it was always like 10 million times worse.
Oh, yeah. Well, and you almost didn't even want to hear it.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
no, we're not talking about
Don't
that.
tell me. Like, seriously, just don't tell me. And just, I remember that sinking feeling too of like, you black out and you look at your phone and you have all these, and I'm like, oh, like, even today thinking about that, cringe.
No,
Cringe.
I still, when I look at my phone
Yeah.
sometimes, I don't even want to always look at my phone. I'm like, oh my God, that client's texting me. Like, it just,
know.
because I have PTSD from
Right,
that, and
right.
it gives me anxiety.
Especially when it's like a client,
Yeah.
and I think too now, like, I think about like, what would it look like if I started drinking
you
again?
wouldn't.
And
You would not have a
I
job.
wouldn't have anything. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have anything. I mean, I own a house now. I have this amazing business. I have amazing clients, and I'm like, I can't imagine like throwing that away, or just the disappointment, seeing that, with my clients, and I'm scared. I would never do it. I'm too afraid. I'm like, I can't do that.
So I forgot. So Allie is a dog watcher. She watches amazing dogs, and I'm like, when my dog sees Allie, Tofu is so excited. So
cute.
Allie, how were you always a dog lover,
Yeah.
or was it something that like evolved over time?
So I was always a dog lover. So it's so funny, because like, I don't come from like a dog family. Like, my grandma, my mom's mom, like, she'll deny this, but she doesn't really like dogs. Like, my mom never had a dog growing up. Like, she's very like, kind of like, oh, like a dirty type of, she's a germaphobe type of like standpoint. And so she loves, Minnie, and she loves my dogs now. But, it's so funny. You look at like baby pictures of me, and there's pictures of me with like random people's dogs, like, just, because I was obsessed with them. And Carmel too is like the most dog friendly place on earth. So the way I started my business, so I begged my mom, as a child, like, please let me get a dog. So finally, I think I was 3rd grade, like 9, she got me a little beagle. Lucky, that was my first dog. Loved her. She was the best. But what happened was, so I had transitioned out of sober living. So after treatment, unfortunately, so I was coming to the end of, being in sober college, right at the end of the 6 months, going to sober living, and out of nowhere, the facility just like shut down. So they had a sober living that I was supposed to go to, and then all of a sudden it was like financially, they couldn't do it. So I found another sober living called Stairways that I went to. So I was there for like maybe 3 months. And I was just kind of over living with other people. It's like 3 girls in one room. And I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to like get my own place and, get a job, go back to school. So it was scary, because it's like I've been so sheltered, not having to work, doing this. So I ended up going to school. I went to Pierce in the Valley.
Pierce.
Yes, Pierce. A lot of celebrities went there. Kim Kardashian.
Yep.
But anyways, so I went there and I was like getting ready to finish up. But like something you should know about me is like school's never been my thing.
Same.
Yeah, I hated school.
Same.
I mean, even now when I drive past a high school, I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I don't have to go there
I cannot
anymore.
concentrate in it. I'm just thinking about, wait, what can I do? I want to make money. I'm thinking of like when the teacher's talking to me, I'm thinking about 50,000 other things in my head.
I know, math. I remember like being in 3rd grade in math and just like not getting it and just like watching the clock like turn. Like I'm so social. I love my friends, seeing my friends, the social aspect, but I could see that with you too.
Oh, completely.
Yes, but like school, I always hated it. So I was never a kid that's like, oh, when I grow up, I want to do this. Like I didn't know, and so I'm like, what the fuck do I do now? I'm in school. What do I do? So I was going there, and then I got a job right next to my apartment that I lived at because I didn't drive because I still had my DUI, so I didn't drive yet. And I was working at El Torito right there in Woodland Hills.
Yeah, I know
El
that.
Torito, and I hated it. Oh my God, it was like I fucking hated it. I helped bartend a little bit and smell the tequila, and I was like, I can't do this sober. Like, I don't want to do it anymore. And so my grandpa, who also, had his own business, he goes, Allie, and I just rescued Rosie, my other poodle. He goes, you've always loved dogs. He goes, you should really do something with that. And I'm like, yeah, but you can't really make money doing that. And I'm like, but you know what? I would love to do that. And I hate this job, so I'm going to try it. So I got
on. What year was this? This was
2019.
Okay.
This was 2019. So I still worked at El Torito, but I got on like Facebook, and because I knew a lot of people from like, recovery and that community. And so I got on Facebook, and I was like, if anyone needs a dog walker or a house sitter, like I'm going to start doing that. I love dogs. I just rescued, my little poodle. And so this girl, Brooklyn, who lived in Warner Center, literally down the street, was like, I have a little Chihuahua. I need him walked like 5 days a week. And I was like, perfect. So he was my first client. I got him. And then she kind of referred me to some people, to this other girl, Caroline, who had a Frenchie named Elton. Funniest dog ever. I started watching him. And then I got on that app like Rover. And I got like, a couple boarding clients from there. And this was like kind of summertime-ish. So my lease end was coming up in September, and I was kind of starting to see like, okay, I could do this, but I need a backyard. I can't do this out of an apartment. So that's when I got my rental in Reseda, which is where I started, and I was there for 4 years. And so when COVID happened, that's when, I was really slow. I was doing like, driving for DoorDash and stuff, and hustling. Hustling. I'm a hustler. Like
I can see that.
I cannot sit there and not work.
No pity on me. We are gonna make this work.
No, I'm not gonna sit here. So I did DoorDash. I did that to make some money, and I'm like, okay, you know what? You're not busy. You need to make a website. Everything's online. It was 2020. Everything's online. That's how you find everything nowadays.
Everything.
So I made my Yelp, and then once I, made my Yelp, and it was after COVID, so people were like dying to get out of town. So once they lifted those restrictions,
it was on.
It was on, yeah. So I really, I would ask my clients like, hey, I just made a Yelp. Can you leave me a review? And so once I started kind of getting the 5-star reviews, that's when I started to get, a lot of clients for boarding, and it really just kind of like grew from there. And then what happened was last year, the place I was living, my landlord literally doubled my rent. So she always knew I was dog sitting, and I had an ADU that was like separate that someone lived in that you wouldn't even know was there. And her husband was like fixing something, and I think he popped over his head over the fence and saw like a bunch of dogs, and she was kind of like, oh, she's making money, she's doing good. So she literally doubled my rent from 33 to 63.
Not cool.
So I'm paying a mortgage for like a tiny little 2-bed, 2-bath in Reseda that I was paying all the utilities for the ADU, which was like insane. So I was like, you know what? I talked to a realtor at Rodeo Realty, and he was like, if you're gonna, no one's gonna rent to you running a dog sitting business. Like, I'm just gonna let you know that. And he's like, you really should buy. And I was like, buy a house in LA? Like, there's no way I can do that. It's insane here. And he basically just explained, you can do a self-employment loan. And so I just grinded for like 6 months I canceled my gym membership, canceled everything. And just saved, and I did it with no family help.
Give me 5 right there, girl.
Yeah, so that's definitely one of my biggest achievements. I think is I bought a house. I've been there a little over a year.
It's a big achievement.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a real deal.
Thank you. Yeah. So, but it's like with me, I try and kind of, so I want to do this, I want to go here, I want to buy a house. I try and set these goals and just work to how I can achieve them. But buying a house was fucking hard.
No, it is.
The escrow, the first day I went into escrow, my lender pulled out. Like, it was a shit show. It was really fucking hard. And there were so many times where I'm like, I'm not going to get this house. And I was able to do it, thank God. So I'm really blessed. Really blessed and grateful for that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I remember because of my air responsibility back in the day, my credit was so bad. Like I had like horrible credit. So when I met Nicole, I was trying to buy a house before her, and back then like rates were like a good rate was like 7%. They wanted like 15%. I'm like, you guys are nuts.
Yeah.
So our first condo we bought together, I wasn't even on the loan.
Wow.
I mean, I had I put the money down, and of course she helped with things, but it was that bad. And so to this day, I am such a stickler on paying things.
Yeah.
Like I once turned in a car. I had a GMC Yukon, and I was going on a surf trip to Indo. And I turned it in, and then I went on the surf trip for 2 weeks, and I came back, and then like 2 months later, I got this thing saying you're not paying your loan. I'm like, no, I turned the car back.
Yeah.
It was such a nightmare for them to fix it. So now like I am just super careful on that kind of stuff.
You have to be.
Yeah.
And I remember growing up, because like my mom is extremely irresponsible with money. Like she's always been like that. So like I did not get that from her. But my grandpa, old school.
I love your grandpa.
Oh, he's the best. I'm going to go up and see him. His name's Bill.
Oh, well, of course, Bill. Of course he's great.
Short for
Bill.
Short for William, yes.
Yeah, William.
Yes. Are you William?
I'm William John Raymond. I have 3 first names.
Are you Irish?
I am.
Okay.
I'm Irish.
Scottish?
German. I think a little bit of Scottish.
Okay.
I know I'm Irish and German. I should know this, but I don't. But I know those are 2 big pieces of it.
Yeah, I can see the Irish, especially with the alcoholism. No, he's great. So he's McFall. So he's Scottish. When I was like 12, we did a trip out there, the whole family, to Scotland. So we went everywhere. We went to Edinburgh.
Yeah.
But we stayed. I can't remember the little town we stayed in, but it was like the cutest. We stayed in a castle that was called the McFall Castle, and it was so rad. But so he built houses. He's a civil engineer. He literally, this is where I get my like gnarly work ethic. He retired when he was 93, like a year ago.
So he doesn't stop.
He doesn't stop. No,
Why?
Why? Why would he?
What else are we gonna do? Like,
right?
like I don't want this
it keeps him young.
I don't want the same grind I'm on now every single day.
Yeah.
But I'm never gonna stop.
No.
What am I gonna do all day?
I feel like when people retire too, like that's like a lot of the time when their health starts to go down.
Yes.
I mean, my grandparents though too, like they've always been super healthy and very like natural diet and that stuff. But they're amazing. They're like in their 90s and but he built Pebble Beach. One of his clients that he's done a ton of work for is David McNeil, who the weather tech guy, Reggie Jackson. He did his house. Like he's rad. He's amazing. I
want to meet Bill.
You got to meet Bill sometime. Yeah,
I'd love to meet Bill.
He came to visit me when I first moved down here, and I live in the valley.
Yep.
It's hot in the valley.
Yeah.
So he came down like when I first moved here. July. It's like 115. Didn't come back for years after that. When I bought my house, so he came down. He had to see the house, you know. But they're getting older, so for the most part, I go up there. But you guys got to do a Carmel trip.
Done. Yeah,
go surf in Carmel.
Yeah, I've been there twice. We've driven through there, and like once we stayed there. Yeah,
it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I mean, for a couple like you and Nicole, Carmel Valley Ranch is like my all-time favorite hotel in the valley. It's so nice. But he's the one that kind of always instilled like credit is everything. And,
everything.
I mean, he's telling me that at like, you know, 14, and I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about? And now as I got older, because, you know, I got sober and I had, you know, all these medical bills and collections from when I, you know, did the bottomless mimosas and the alcohol poisoning. So, you know, when I got sober, it was like I did, you know, pay all that back, build up my credit, and it's still a process. You know, it's so weird because after buying the house, I thought my credit would go up. It actually went down. And I think it's because I like financed all, you know, the furniture. Because when you buy a house, you're broke. I was like,
but as long as you pay it on time, it will increase.
Right.
Yeah, I remember I got a gas card. Because gas cards are very easy, but it was like seriously like a $300 limit.
Mine was too, my first credit card.
I would put everything on it I could. Like I'd buy cigarettes there. I would put my gas on there. Yeah. And then slowly over time, I would max it out, pay it, max it out, pay it. Yeah. Then I got another credit card. Then I got a prepaid credit card. It was all those things.
Yeah.
Now I'm Amex Platinum, baby.
Goals
like,
right there.
I do not mess around with it. Like I am very, very anal with that stuff. And
you have to be, because they ding you for everything.
Everything, like on purpose.
Because this system, this credit system, it really is designed to keep people down. You know, it totally.
So this is how fucked up I was, and I cannot believe I'm even going to say this on camera.
I can't wait.
You're getting me to say a lot today.
That's okay.
So
I love it.
In college, my parents paid for my first year. And then they had a lot of financial issues. So I was at San Diego State.
Yeah.
Living in this private dorm.
Yep.
It was on.
Pricey,
it was like failed out.
Same of SBCC community college.
Yeah, failed out. So but I had no money.
Yeah.
Zero money.
Yeah.
What I would do, can't believe I'm gonna say this, is back in the day, when you're at an ATM machine.
Oh, stop. I think I know what you're going to say.
You'd put the check inside the envelope and put it in.
Okay.
Well, I wasn't getting paid because I had a job, but I wasn't going to get paid or get my tips until like the next week, whatever.
Yeah.
I would either put a check in and not sign it and say I forgot to sign it, or say I forgot to put the check in. So I would put in the envelope and take out $200. But there was no money for the $200.
Oh.
I did this like...
It's kind of genius, actually.
Oh, I did it like 15 times. And then they would take my card away from me, and I couldn't use it for like a month, whatever. Then I met a girl at the bank. Became friendly with the girl at the bank.
Charmed the bank teller, yeah.
She reversed like $850 in like charges on it.
Yeah.
I thought I was Donald Trump.
My God.
I was like, I'm
bawling.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah. Oh no, it's crazy. I look back like, because when I first got sober, you're like bringing up so many memories right now. Is like I had Wells Fargo, and like I was so overdrafted from fucking Wells Fargo that they just canceled my account. I had no bank account when I first got sober. So, like, my grandma would have to fucking Western Union me. It's so crazy, you know, because as time goes by, we forget these things. But, like, we passed the Vallarta the other day because that's where I would go, fucking Vallarta supermarket, so she could Western Union me like $100 or whatever, because like I had no money when I first got sober. And it's so crazy. Like I didn't have a bank account, and so I'm like passing, you know, by, and I'm with Travis. I go, that's where I used to go, to Western Union. He's like, you used to go to Western Union? Like,
right.
He didn't know that, Allie, back then. I'm like, yeah, but you know, I remember like there was, you know, a night in particular where like, because I'm the type of person, you know, it doesn't matter what it is, alcohol, cocaine, especially cocaine. I do everything.
All
like,
in.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like there's people they can get a ball or whatever,
none.
and they can have some left over. That's
Nope.
like insanity.
Finish it.
Right, it's insanity.
Finish it.
Like, I'm like, it's 6 a.m. People are on
Keep
their
going.
jogs. Yeah, I'm like, let's get more. And so I remember so distinctly, like, going to the bank account, going to the ATM at like 6 a.m. Like, gotta get more. And I had like maybe like $60 in there, or like it let me overdraft to take like 60 out, and I was like, oh my god, I'm rich.
Yes.
Just $60, and it's like, it's just this, it's insane,
Yeah.
like, and now I have a mortgage, and if I'm like, don't have this much saved, I'm like, so it's just crazy. It's crazy how like sobriety can like change you. It's wild.
It does. So even today, so I like sugar candy.
Yeah, me too. We gotta have our sugar.
But like, if you give me a thing of Sour Patch Kids,
Yeah.
like I can't stop until they're gone.
Right.
And I tell
Right.
myself every time, okay, I'm gonna have
Yeah.
a couple, and then I got to the point where I'm only gonna eat the red and orange, because those are my two favorite, and then I throw the other ones away because I'm like, but sometimes I'm sneaking those
You're
two.
so funny, yeah.
Because I just
Yeah.
can't do it. Like,
Yeah.
like I cannot stop. So
Yeah.
I'm like, if I don't want to do it, don't buy it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if it's in front of me, I'm
Just
fine
don't
with
even
it.
have it around. Yeah.
Um,
I'm like that too with candy. I'm like, I love sugar. Like, I've been a little bit better now, but I'm the same way. Like gummies, like
All that
I like
stuff.
candy and soda too. I'm a Diet Coke fiend. Like, that is my thing. That's my vice from getting sober. And Diet Coke, I've always loved it, but when I got sober, it was like, okay, it's on. Like,
So I used to drink Diet Coke, and then I stopped, and then my CEO was working inside this office more, and he drinks it, so I started drinking with him.
Yeah.
And then I kind of tailed off of it, and then I was in Europe the last 3 summers.
Yeah.
Where if you're in the first summer I went, I was still drinking, but the last 2 summers I went through Europe not drinking.
Yeah.
Like, you could only drink so much soda water, and
Yeah.
so I started drinking Diet Zero, because Diet Zero, what they call it, because they don't have Diet Coke if there's something in
Yes,
it.
it's like Coke Zero. It's
Correct,
like,
yeah.
Yes, yeah. Because I was just in Italy in September.
And,
Yeah.
and then you're just drinking it, and like, because I can't
Yeah.
not do, I can only drink so many cappuccinos, so many
Yes.
espressos, whatever it may be.
Yes, so much, and they have like the lemon soda.
Correct.
I know,
yuck.
they're not good.
So it's awful.
So the best, my favorite thing is they have it in Mexico, Jamaica, like Central America, is Coke Light. I don't know why. You know how everyone says like the bottled Coca-Cola, it's
Yeah.
so much better than like our canned. Coke Light is so good. I don't know what they put in that shit, but it's different than Diet Coke, and that's like my all-time favorite.
The whole candy thing reminds me of Lamar Odom. You know what that is?
Yeah.
And before we knew what he's gone through.
Right.
But when he played basketball, he used to love sugar candy too. And now I'm like, oh, now I see it.
Now it makes sense.
Now I see it.
Yeah, now it makes sense.
Where did you meet Travis?
So it's actually kind of a funny story. So I knew Travis when I was 19 so I had gone to SBCC right out of college because, I wanted to go to Santa Barbara. I wanted to party. And ironically, SBCC happens to be the best community college in the country. So I did a whole spiel, this is the best community college. So got to live there scot-free, like you said, San Diego. I just had fun.
We're a lot alike, girl.
We are. I know. You reminded me of a story. What I would do is, like, when the semester was over, my grandpa would be like, I want to see your grades.
Type those things up.
Keep in mind, I've never been good at school. So I would type them up. I would, meanwhile, I'm like on academic probation. So what happened was I would send those to him, and then eventually summer came. They got a letter or something like Allie's about to flunk out of school, and so I had to move home. So anyway, I moved home, and my friend Lauren was seeing a guy in Santa Cruz. And she was like, oh, they're both named Travis. She had a Travis, and she's like, there's another Travis. And I was like, okay, well, show me a picture. And I saw the picture. I'm like, oh, he's cute. So anyways, we hung out, and we stayed friends, and then just kind of, ventured off. He ended up going to Kentucky into the Army, and I was just in Monterey being an alcoholic. So what happened was it was like 2021, I think. I was doing the dogs, and me and my ex had just broken up. So I actually started dating someone I went to treatment with. He ended up relapsing. We lived together at my house in Reseda. He couldn't handle the dog business, first of all. Then he ended up relapsing. So it was just kind of like a whole thing. We broke up. And I got a message on Snapchat because you know how they have like the Snapchat maps or whatever. And Travis was like, "Oh, I see, you're in LA. I moved to LA." And I'm like, "Oh, it's so random." I was like, "Okay." So it just kind of happened that I needed help with the dogs and he wasn't working. So he kind of started helping me, and then it just kind of like went from there. And he's been such an amazing help. I always say, like, we always joke that I'm kind of like the people person. I love to like talk to the clients and do all that stuff, message, set up appointments, and then he's like the workforce behind, because it's a lot of cleaning. It's a lot of poop to clean up.
Is he sober?
So Travis is not sober, but Travis doesn't drink. So Travis grew up with alcoholic parents, and his dad is actually California sober as well. So his dad's been sober. LA sober as well. He's like 10 years off alcohol. And Travis, even when I knew him when we were 19, like, he didn't drink. He only smoked. And I was like, "Really? You don't drink?" And he's like, "No." Like, so I think he was, how some people, I feel like when they grow up with parents that drink a lot, it just totally deters them. So I've probably seen Travis drink once or twice in the entire like 4 years we've been together. So he doesn't drink, but he is a big smoker.
Yep.
So he smokes every night, before bed. And something about me that I don't think I've told you is I've never been a smoker. I do not like being high on weed at all. I never have.
That's funny.
Now, I wish I did, because I think that, being younger, if I had just enjoyed smoking weed, I think I would have done that more.
Yeah.
Like you said about how you would rather, your kids smoke than drink.
Yeah, for sure.
I agree 100%, because, it's like with weed, you don't get so fucked up. Usually, I mean, I know some of this weed now is crazy, but you don't, put yourself, especially as a young woman, in these
positions that you're blacking out, that guys do all that bad stuff.
Yeah. So for me, it's like, I mean, I honestly would probably rather date someone that was a normie, which like 100% normie, meaning, for those of the people that don't know, like someone that drinks a glass of wine with dinner, or someone, like Nicole that can, that like the definition of that, we can't even like, understand how they can do this, or, have a drink and not finish it. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? So for me, it's like, I would rather date someone like that, than an addict, because it's hard dating an addict. I've been through it. The tough thing about sobriety is, statistically, most people don't stay sober. And I hate to say that, because I am one, but it's like, if you don't give it 110% every day, you're gonna drink again.
Yeah, I think Nicole is she's so black and white with things, and that's hard for me sometimes, because I don't look at life that way.
Yeah.
But Nicole's she's so strong.
Yeah.
And she's always been there for me, even when I have fallen down. She helps me get back up.
Yeah.
And it's such a comfort. But then there are times through that where I do once in a while want to let loose.
Yeah.
And she doesn't understand that piece of it.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm doing these surf trips, and that's why I have to have these type of releases in my life.
An outlet, yeah.
If not, I'll go crazy. Like yeah. I need to have some escapes.
Yeah.
Because I overthink everything. I'm always in it.
I agree.
And if I don't have those escapes, something's gonna give.
Nuts.
Like something will give in my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I live at such a high rev, that I need something else in my life to
take
let
the
it,
place of
correct.
That. Yeah, and I feel like every sober person does. You know, it's like a lot of people when they first get sober, they, you know, they'll do the gym, like go so intense at the gym, or
like either you're an ultra marathoner or
Yeah.
whatever it may be, or you a workaholic, which that's just how I am. Like I can't change that, but I'm just now trying to find more positive outlets instead of
negative.
Yeah.
And that's the thing though. It's like, because, you know, you don't drink now, you do get to do these positive things like surf trips that are like so amazing. And, you know, for me, it's like traveling. Like that has totally, like I've been to, I think 13 countries since I got sober. Yeah. Like we always talk about, you know, cause you guys do your trips and I just love it. I think, you know, traveling, it's so important because the world's so big.
Oh, because you learn so much.
You learn so much.
You can, and being there, you learn. And doing these trips now, not drinking, is so much
different.
Oh my God. I take it all in. I'm up in the morning. I go to bed early. I'm not hungover. I can still talk to people at a bar.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's just, it's like you said, like traveling now is so different. Like you're up early. Like I used to, you know, just get so drunk and then, you know, we'd have an activity. Like my friend would book us like an AM activity and I'm like, no, like the worst thing in the world. But it's like, I'd so much rather go travel sober and like, you know, get enough sleep and go, because you see so much more. You know, you see the world so differently and so clearly. And I think the best part about being sober is like, I love that I don't need anything to get me through the day. Like I can just wake up and go. Maybe a little coffee. You know, don't get me wrong.
Of course.
But it's like, that is like so powerful, you know? Because your world, for me, my whole day would be like, okay, like
what am I gonna fit? No,
yes.
So, and I still do this today.
Yeah.
So when I was drinking, I go to dinner, and I sit down. I'm like, and I would think, okay, I can order a glass of wine now, and if I order one when the dinner comes, then it's not gonna look awkward if I order one like. I do that, but I even do it with fucking bread. So if they put bread on the table and we're with a couple, I look, I'm like, okay, there's 5 there. I'm going to get 2 of those fuckers. Like, that's how I think. And it's so wrong.
No, I'm cracking up now because I'm like, oh my God, like literally that is exactly how my brain would work. Or like if I was with a group of people and I was drinking maybe a little too fast. I'm like,
right.
I don't want to seem too alcoholic right now. Like,
I'm gonna hide it from him.
I know, exactly. Or like go to the bar really quick. Like it's crazy, but that's also how I knew I was an alcoholic. Is I was like, do other people think about alcohol this much? And it's like, no, they don't. No, they don't. So you're cracking me up right now because it is like, oh, I can drink this with this with this, and yeah.
So for the longest time when I would travel on business, I would never rent a car.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I'm going out.
You didn't want to drive,
Like, I would take Ubers from like Chicago to Wisconsin. Like I would say, now there's nothing better than having my own car. Like I love it. Like now I fly in Chicago, I rent my car, I go to like I love to have my car. I love driving because I learn where I'm going. I pay attention. I'm in my car. I can make a call. I have my music on.
Yeah.
But for 25 years of traveling for work, I never rented a car until the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And now I'll rent a car wherever I can.
Yeah. It's so weird because I hated driving before I got sober, like how you're saying. And like, I hated it. And I was also so anxious, like always. Like I've always had really bad anxiety, but like, I think because you know, alcohol is a depressant. So, you know, all these studies, it's like, the anxiety or whatever, I think that's was the worst part for me.
The worst.
It's the worst. And so I think, you know, me drinking, and I think this happens to a lot of people, it's like you think you're doing something to calm your anxiety, but it's really making your anxiety 10 times worse.
Oh, it for sure does.
So it's like even driving by myself, I hated it. And I'm like, how do people do these road trips, you know, so far by themselves driving? I'm like, I get so anxious. And it's like, now that I'm sober, I love driving. I mean, LA, you can't survive here without a car. And it's like, even, you know, LA, you know how crazy it is driving here. Like, people are nuts. There's like, the freeways are huge and, you know, but it's like, I love it now. And I can't imagine not having a car. Yeah. And like, you know, having a DUI for so many years. Like, I Ubered for like 3 years and I'm like, that's insane. Like, how did I do that? I hate Ubering like once a year now, you know?
So I have a friend that I've been talking to for a while, and
Yeah.
Like insane.
Yeah.
And
We all have some of those.
I have this story that he was hungover and he went to the gas station in San Diego and he got gas
Yeah.
and he drove off and he's like completely hungover.
With the
And he's in a Jetta.
Oh no.
He's in a
It's the
Jetta.
Jettas.
Yeah. And he's driving on the freeway and people are like honking and looking at him. And he's like, what? The pump is in the car. And he's on the 5 freeway in San Diego driving
down, he doesn't even know it's in there.
Does he know it?
So I have a story really quick. This is all my friends that I've made down here. I tell because they've never met Drunk Alley, so I tell them this story. They're like, "What is wrong with you?" So there was one time. I can't believe I'm telling you this. Okay.
Confessions.
So yeah.
Confession.
Hopefully you still let me watch Tofu after this.
I am Father Bill.
Oh gosh. Okay, so I was out one night at like a UFC thing, like a UFC event with my friend, and like we both got trashed. Me more trashed, and we both made our ways home separately. So my grandparents, where they live, I could almost compare it to kind of like Mulholland Drive, like Laurel Canyon, just like a nightmare to get to, like super dangerous road kind of. And they live on like this crazy driveway where it's like 3 houses, like the UPS car won't even like go down there. Like he leaves everything at the top. So it's a nightmare. Anyways, I managed to make it home one night. Don't know how. Go to bed. I wake up, my grandpa, this is the car he had just bought me too, the Jetta. I wake up, he's like banging on my door. I go, I was always doing something bad, so I'm like, oh great, what the fuck, like my poor grandparents, what the fuck did I do now? And he goes, you have 3 tires on your car.
You drove over.
I swear to God, and I don't know to this day what the fuck happened to that tire or how I didn't get pulled over. It's not like, I feel like here you never get pulled over, really, like, unless, like the cops have more important shit to care about. But like Carmel, it's like there's a fucking cat in the tree and the cops are coming. You know what I mean? So I'm like, how did I drive from Seaside to Carmel, think like Brentwood to the Valley type of thing, like, and it's wild. It's just wild, the stuff that we did, And
so,
like, thank God I'm still alive, honestly.
No,
seriously, yeah.
Like I think about it all the time, and but as a kid, back in high school, I would tell myself, well, but you're gonna be a millionaire.
Yeah. Like
to myself, I would say that all the time, and people would like. There's people that look at me now and go, wait, that's Bill Raymond?
Yeah. Me too.
Wait.
Me too.
That is Bill Raymond.
Yes.
Like, and I always knew I had it in me. I just had to find my own way there.
Yeah.
So when I got kicked out of college the first time, I moved back home with my sister. She was a newlywed. Let me live with her. Thank you, Tiffany. I love her to death.
Yeah.
And I was working at Chillers. Chillers was like the place where they had like the frozen drinks.
Yes. Like, yes. Like the Slurpee things, right? Yeah.
So I was a bar back, and you would make in the back there was trash cans.
Yeah.
And you'd have a recipe book. I remember the book.
Yeah.
And it'd be like 24 bottles of vodka. And so you would take cases and like dump it all in.
You would make them in the trash can?
Yeah, you mix it because it's booze, so it cleans it.
Yeah. That's amazing.
20 things of Kool-Aid. Like it was nuts. So I'd be hammered every night. And then we go party afterwards because that's what you do in that world.
That's the industry.
I remember waking up by a pool at a hotel. I'm laying there and I'm like look, and there's kids swimming in this pool, and I have like a wife beater on and jeans. And my cigarettes are next to me and my keys. And I'm like, what is wrong with you, dude? Like, what is wrong with you? Or like after coming home from like after hours.
Yeah.
Like there was a place called the Garage. And the Garage was like an after hours.
Yeah.
And you leave there at like 11 o'clock in the morning. On
That's a real after hours.
And a Monday.
Yeah.
and seeing normal people,
Going
and
to
you
work.
just feel like the gum on the bottom of your shoe. Like
That
you just,
was-
it's the worst.
It's the worst feeling ever. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you haven't slept all night, and people are
I just
going
coming
to
off
work.
of so many things and just
Yeah.
just death.
And you look at them and you're like, how are you on a walk right
Yeah.
now? Like, they're like the crazy ones.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it is, you feel so scummy. Like,
Oh, you feel like seriously like the gum on your shoe.
yeah, like.
That walked on
oh,
Hollywood Boulevard. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like that was the stuff I just go, no.
Yeah.
I cannot take it.
Yeah, and it's crazy too because, you know, like Hollywood, you know, I go to these places and, you know, you see like the homelessness and, you know, the drug addiction and stuff. And it's like, fuck, like, why is it that, like, you know, I was able to get sober and, like, you know, these people can't? And it's like, I don't know. I mean, I know it's like so many different things, but it breaks my heart when I see that.
No,
because it's-
yeah, because you can't judge
You
anyone
can't.
because everyone's going through their own thing, and even if you're not, you're
Yeah.
playing inside your head.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, with this whole movement I have, I still have to watch myself. Like, I'm not one
Yeah.
saying I don't have to watch myself because I do. Like, I
Yeah.
still, but like weed, I can only get so high. Like, I'm not.
Right.
And if I want to microdose, now I like to keep it like in like a check,
In moderation.
where I don't take
Yeah.
too much of anything because
Yeah.
I know what will happen.
Yeah.
But even with like Adderall, because I do take it here and there.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me. Like
Yeah.
like I have to like
Yeah.
governor it like no other because
Yeah.
like there are days where I'll
Yeah.
take I'm like Bill, like what are you like?
Yeah.
You got to be careful with it. But but that's why booze is something where I go, it's so accepted. Like I
Yeah.
know me.
Yeah.
I cannot have one drink. Like
No.
like I've tried
No.
that and I will
Yeah.
I'm never.
Yeah.
I try to say I'm never not gonna drink again because if I put that pressure on myself,
Right.
then I know what's gonna happen.
Right.
So I'm like today I'm not drinking,
Today, yeah.
but I have no like
Yeah.
I don't want to drink again.
No.
And I don't really miss it.
No. No,
like-
I don't miss it at all. And it's I think it's like so much harder, a lot harder in the beginning. And I think you have to really be careful the situations when you first get sober that you put yourself in. But
Correct.
like I mean, I can go out now with, you know, because most of my friends today are not sober. My sober friends that I did have here, like they moved. They're not here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So like most of my friends, like they do drink. And it's just like, you know, going out and stuff, like seeing drunk people, first of all, makes me not want to drink even more.
Cringy.
And yeah, but it's like you really do get to a place where it's like you don't have the desire anymore. You know, and
Well-
it's hard for people to fathom like, oh, you know, how can you be around this? And it's like, dude, I've been around people doing cocaine. Like that's not right for everyone. I'm not saying
No,
that.
I agree with you.
You know, everyone's different, but I know what that looks like.
Yes.
You know, and I don't judge anyone that
No.
does that because some people can fucking do cocaine at every once in a blue moon.
and that's fine.
Yeah.
Like no judging. I'm just saying what works for me today
Yeah.
may not work for you.
Exactly.
But I'm just telling you my story. And
Yeah.
when you go out with people that drink, and I still love my friends that drink.
Yeah.
But it's annoying. Like I don't need to hear the same
it's a
story
story 10
45 times
Oh
or
my
hug me
God.
or like
I
dude
know.
like call me in the morning when we have
Literally.
coffee and we're gonna be better off anyways.
We just went out to dinner, me and my friend, with someone, and like he literally told us the same story
Right.
10 different times.
Oh.
And we're just looking at each other and I'm like, oh my God. Like, and I know I was bad, like the worst of the worst. So I'm like, you know, people that still talk to me from back then, I'm like, you know, thank God, because I don't know if I would still talk to me, you know, it's crazy. But I think like, you know, my whole thing with anything, and I think, you know, that's what's kind of hard is like I did go to meetings. I did do AA when I first got sober. And I think like, you know, hearing people's stories was very helpful for me in like the first year of recovery. I think I did need that. But I think AA is such like a one all be all type of thing. And like, you know, I have a friend, she's like got like 10, 12 years off alcohol, I think. But you know, she has dabbled, smoked weed occasionally a little bit, you know, and there's people in AA that would be like, well, you know, you're a newcomer, you need to go take your newcomer check. And it's like, no, like just because she fucking smoked weed a couple times doesn't take away that she's 12 years sober off
Exactly.
everything else. You know what I mean? And like, so, and it's like, you know, there's people that I think, you know, for people it's hard. I think it's hard and lines get a little blurred when someone that was addicted to drugs starts drinking, because I think when we have alcohol in our system, our choices are so much
much worse. Where
yeah,
for me, I can do everything else. Myself.
Yeah.
I can do everything else in the world.
Yeah.
And control it.
Yeah.
Alcohol, I can't.
No.
For me.
No. Because, I mean, for me, alcohol was my main thing, and I did do other things, but, like, I only did other things because I was drinking. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't really just sit there and be like, oh, I want to get an 8-ball. But you get 3 drinks in me, like, it was like every single time I got drunk, I would start to do that, So it's just, for me, alcohol was always the thing and will always be the thing. For me, I don't do other things strictly out of fear that it will lead back to that, honestly.
That's
and
great.
Weed I just don't do because I don't like it. And psychedelics I don't do because when I was like 17, I had a terrible trip on something that was supposed to be a thizzle, we called it, which is like a
what?
pressed pill. So I say this to people out here and they're like,
sizzle?
what the fuck are you talking about? Do you know who Mac Dre is? The rapper. So he's a big Bay Area. This is like the North NorCal coming in me, but he's a big rapper. Like he's passed away, but like he had like a song
I think
called
I know. Yeah, I think I do.
Thiz dance, like the Thizzle movement. So when I was in high school, Thiz was a big thing. So I'm aging myself too, but Thiz was like ecstasy. So it's like ecstasy, but it's a press pill. So it's not like, straight Molly. Like, you really don't know what the fuck is in there.
Well, now.
Yeah, now, I was going to say, kids, if you're listening, do not take anything like that nowadays. I mean, even fucking Coke. That's
anything.
Why I am so grateful to, like, be sober now because it is so fucking dangerous nowadays with fentanyl and... It's terrible, even like a Xanax, you don't know that you buy off the street.
All of it.
Like, all of it. Yeah, I was at fucking Lowe's across the street from my house like 3 weeks ago. And like, I feel like too in my life now, like I have 7 years, that's a good chunk of time. But every day, not every day, maybe once a week, I get a reminder of like, that is why you fucking stay sober.
That's good.
There. It's good. It's good. And I get, these little reminders. But there was a guy, like I was looking at lights. All of a sudden I heard this noise, like it sounded like someone was throwing up, like this awful noise. And I'm like, what the fuck was that? Run to the front of the store. This guy's having a full-on seizure, like foaming at the mouth. I've never seen this before. And I'm like, oh my God, I call 911. And, as he's having the seizure, I kind of got the vibe that it was like drug related, like for sure. Like I thought he was overdosing and I'm like, he's going to die right in front of me. Thank God he didn't. But, after he came out of it, the ambulance came and they're asking us, all these questions. How long did he have the seizure? And, as he's having the seizure, like a Visine thing, like flies out of his pocket. So I just, he was like probably younger and I kind of had a feeling it was, drug related. But that's the thing with these, and I don't know for sure, but that's the thing with, these pills too. And like Xanax, has, been really popular, which thank God I didn't have access to Xanax because me being the type of person I am with that anxiety, I know I would have been so bad on it.
Yeah.
As much as I love uppers, like something like Xanax that can, I used to take my ex-boyfriend's Klonopin occasionally, and that was like, because I needed it. I'm an anxious person, but Xanax is like that slippery slope. But yeah, it's like, these things too that, people, I have a friend that was taking Xanax for like a week and she just stopped cold turkey and she fucking had a seizure at brunch.
Yeah.
It's like, it's crazy, these drugs and what can happen. And, you just, it's a thin line between.
I gotta text one text.
You're fine. It's a thin line. It's a slippery slope, between casual and just, doing it a little bit too much. So I always say like everything in moderation.
No, it's so true.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're good.
Yeah, and no, what's crazy is that's not crazy at all. Always working.
Always.
I just forgot.
I know my phone's probably.
I just forgot to text someone.
No, you're fine. I get it.
Is while I enjoy getting high, I enjoy doing a little microdose, I still love when I'm content,
Yeah.
totally sober.
Yeah. Totally.
And
Yeah.
I love being by myself
Yeah.
more than anything.
Yeah.
I know that sounds probably so selfish.
No, same.
But I
Same.
love when I'm on the couch watching some YouTube stuff by
Yeah.
myself with
Yeah.
no one bothering me. My phone's not blowing up.
Yeah.
The kids are asking me 1,000 questions. Like, I love my family to death.
Yeah, no, I know that.
But
No, it's a piece.
I
It's a piece.
love
Yeah.
when I'm by myself.
Yeah.
And
Me too.
I'm just hanging out like with Bill.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
Bill, not on anything.
Yeah.
Zero.
Yeah.
Drinking hot water. Like, it's the best.
Can you believe it? Drinking hot water.
I love hot water. And
Yeah.
Nicole used to make fun of me because of it.
Yeah.
I started drinking hot water when I stopped drinking so much wine.
It's really good for you.
It calms me down.
Yeah.
Like a glass of hot
Yeah.
water at night. And at night, I probably drink 5 glasses. I pee
Yeah.
all night long because
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
drinking hot water. And in
Yeah.
the morning, before I have coffee, I make myself have a glass of hot water.
That's honestly
Just to
like
get it going.
That's like the healthiest thing you can do. They say like cold water is actually not really good for you. It's better to drink like lukewarm water, and hot water is like so good for your digestive. So you're probably like A1
making it
right
work.
there, Bill. I know. It's
So,
like
God, I could talk to you for hours. Like, this is so much fun. It
is. I'm loving it.
I am so thankful for you to come on
Of
and just be
course.
so honest.
Yeah.
And you got me to say a lot more today than I usually do.
we let everything out today. I love it.
Yeah, and then so I do want to. Why are dogs so good?
So I think dogs are so amazing because I love my dogs more than anything in the world. And Travis always jokes that I love them more than him. And it's like dogs just, they never say mean things. They just love you. And that's all they want to do. And I think, we live in a world, especially right now, that is like so volatile. There's just so much
mean.
shit, so mean all the time. And I think, dogs just live in the moment. They're not concerned about, besides their next meal, they're not like, concerned about, what's going on. I have to do this, I have to do this. It's like they're just very present in that moment, and they just, want to love you. And I don't know, honestly, I feel like everyone should have a dog because unless you've owned a dog, especially like such a soul dog like Tofu or like Minnie. Like Minnie's like my little spirit animal. They don't understand it. People that don't have dogs don't understand, like, how can you love something that much? It's just an animal. But it's like, it's not, they're like little humans.
Yeah, with us. So our daughters were scared of dogs. Like, they were petrified of dogs.
I kind of remember that
before we got Tofu.
Yeah.
And
did something happen to trigger that? Or?
no, I just think we just didn't have a dog, and they
Yeah.
just, for whatever reason, they have anxiety because of me, I'm sure. And it doesn't, it's just
Genetic
yeah,
anxiety.
for sure.
I
Like
know.
yeah, Nicole always says, yeah, you give them all the bad shit. Fuck you. I give them all the good stuff too.
I know. That's so fun. I always joke with Travis, like, our genetics would be, because he's got a lot of mental illness on his side. I got the alcoholism on my
Woo! They're gonna be winners.
fucking genetic disaster, right? Yeah.
But getting a dog for us has been such a game changer because it gets us out of our fucking head.
Yeah.
All of us. And it gets
Totally.
it off of us. And like,
Totally.
I'll walk in and Tofu is so happy to see us.
Yes.
Me and Nicole especially.
Yes.
Like, he like the amount of love that he gives us, and then
Yeah.
he goes off into his own thing so quickly, but
He's so
still
funny.
it's and like, I'll work from home 1 day a week, 2 days a week sometimes, and when I'm really stressed out,
Yeah.
I'll just grab Tofu and I'll bring him inside that bed downstairs, and I'll lay with him, and that little comfort I get brings me such joy. And people that work for me,
It does.
they go, Bill, we've never seen that side to you. Because they think I'm like this, like, mean, and I'm
It
so
does.
not. I'm such a baby.
Yeah.
And they go,
Yeah.
Bill, they go, you talk to this dog.
Yeah.
That we never see that side
Yeah.
of it.
No, I think dogs really do, they change people. They really do. And that's why I always say, until you have like your own dog and you have that bond with them, you won't understand it. But it really is. And, you know, I think the best part about my job is like when the dogs come, or like when I come pick up Tofu and like they're excited to see me, like that is like everything.
No,
you know?
like,
And
Tofu is like he runs to you.
it's what's so cute too, because like my dogs and Tofu too, I feel like they're very like particular about like
Very
dogs that they
particular.
like. Yeah, like definitely they're both more of like people dogs, but like they love Tofu and Tofu loves them, and it's so cute. But like I feel like people, like when I tell them I'm doing this, they're like, oh my god, like that is such a perfect job for you. So I feel like, you know, it's
You
so,
found your calling.
yeah, and it's so weird how, like, you know, if it weren't for me being an alcoholic, I never would have probably ended up down here. So I just feel like, you know, I'm going to be cliche, but, like, I feel like everything happens for a reason.
For sure.
And I just feel so lucky, and I feel like in life, it's so easy to, like, look at, you know, oh, this person has this, or, you know, it's so easy to, like, you know, forget to be grateful for everything you have. And like, it's just, I'm so grateful every day, because I'm like, you know, I look at what my life was like when I was 22. Like I was like, suicidal ideation. Ugh,
Yeah.
can't say that. You know, like I think every alcoholic does. Like it gets to a very dark place, and I just feel like my life is so big and so bright now, and I'm just really, really grateful, honestly.
Well, I am so glad that I met you.
too.
Tofu's so glad. Thank you again so much for coming on. Where can people find you
Yeah.
to bring their besties to you?
Yes, so I'm on Instagram, Dogsitting by Allie. If you just look up to just type in Dog Sitters Los Angeles, I'll pop up. I'm on Yelp. You can see all my reviews. Dogsittingbyallie.com, and my personal Instagram is Allie in the Valley 94. You can find me there too.
I love this. Thank
Thank
you
you.
again. And then here
Thank you so much.
I did give you.
Yes, I love the merch.
So make Los Angeles so again. Just little fun
I
thing
love
we have
it.
with that.
I'm about to go to Monterey, and I'm gonna make this very popular
I
up
love
there.
this. And then
Yes.
here's a
Thank you so much.
hoodie.
Thank you.
Hoodie.
I can't wait to wear this. I'm like so excited for the merch.
So, thank you for watching this LA Sober Sessions podcast. Again, you can find us at We Are LA Sober, as well as on YouTube. You can find us under LA Sober. And please support us, support the merch, follow us, comment on all of our social. It does help, and we want to keep this going. So, if you like the content, help us out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, this is so much
It's
fun.
awesome. So fun.